the new book, Power and Restraint, which has been put together by a group of Chinese and a group at Harvard in the Belfer Center, is suggesting a new possible role for China and the United States in international politics, economics, in strategy, and in the attempt to stop global warming. Our basic argument has been, in discussions with the Chinese over the past 3 years, that we don't want to do what happened in the past. In the past, every major power that rose got into conflict with the countries that existed above it and before it. France and Britain conflicted. Germany and Britain conflicted. Russia and Germany conflicted. And of course, there was the huge conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union, which only barely was averted without a major war. In the case of China, it seems very likely that unless something intervenes, there will be a major conflict between China and the United States. Now, groups in our two different bailiwicks, the Chinese Academy of the Social Sciences and the Belfer Center here at Harvard, have resolved that through an intensive series of meetings and exploring these events, we can avoid any automatic conflict between the two powers over time. And in the process of doing so, we can perhaps make a first in international history where a country like China rises, but without the conflicts that have attended all the previous rises of major nearing hegemony countries in the past. How do you do that? Well, you do that by intensifying the reactions and the connections between them, so that actually, instead of just operating in two isolated compartments, you bring the major decision makers and opinion leaders together to talk about the economics, to talk about the strategy, to talk about a solution to the Taiwan problem, to talk about not having too much hedging in the military relationships between the two countries. And of course, finding a means by which China can acquire its position in the international system without conflict with the United States. Today, we are in a relationship with China in terms of economics that is almost the same as the relationship we had with the Soviet Union in military affairs. Mutual assured destruction was the basis of the relationship between the United States and Russia. Neither power could get advantages in the nuclear field, and neither power dared to use its nuclear capabilities. We're nearing the same sort of thing in terms of economics between the United States and China. In fact, if MAD was the acronym for the relationship with Russia, MADE may be the acronym for the relationship with China. Mutual assured destruction of the economies. This is the thing we have to avoid. At this particular point, China is entirely dependent upon the United States. Her access to trade routes depends entirely upon the U.S. fleet. So in that sense, her economic lifeblood is at the behest of Western countries, in particular the United States. At the same time, in terms of our own financial situation, if China did not invest in the United States, we would be in enormous difficulties. Interest rates would go sky high, borrowing would become more and more difficult, and we would have no means of financing our deficit. That would mean we would not get out of this recession or depression, depending on what it is, for a very long period of time. The two countries have very substantial mutual economic interests. And it is part of the stress in this particular book that we want to find a way to realize those and to make sure that they all achieve their basic objectives at the same time. Thank you.